Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. For those of you who are newer to my channel, my casual review series is just kind of where I go off script and I just talk about my thoughts and impressions on something that I'm consuming, be it video games, movies, TVs, books. Usually it's going to be video games. And today I'm going to be talking about Darksiders Genesis on the Nintendo Switch. Now this game is also available on all the different systems, I think, like PC, Xbox, PlayStation, so you can play it wherever you want. I did the Switch version because I play most of my video games in handheld mode. Darksiders. My past Darksiders experiences are... I would consider myself a pretty big Darksiders fan, actually. I remember one Christmas receiving the original Darksiders for the Xbox 360, and then I later got it on the PC. And then even later than that, I also got it on the Switch. So I played the original Darksiders, I want to say 4 times, because the original Darksiders is kind of like a mature Zelda. Like, you go through dungeons, get like a weapon that'll help you progress further into the dungeon, and it also can be used for like combat, that kind of thing. Darksiders 2 I got for the PC, and then I also bought that later for the Nintendo Switch, and that kind of added like more of a gear system, kind of made it a little more open worldy. I loved both of the games. Now, I did play Darksiders 3. I borrowed it from my coworker, and I gotta be honest, I only put in maybe like 2 hours into it, and then something else shiny came along, and so I did get distracted. It wasn't really scratching that Darksiders itch that I was hoping for. It's not a bad game, I'll say. Like, I can't say that definitively because I only put in 1 to 2 hours into the third one, but it's just not really what I was looking for at the time. It's just very different from the first 2 Darksiders, and so was this game, Darksiders Genesis. So this is actually a newer game, but I kind of felt like this fell off of the the video game discourse pretty quickly. Like, they talked about it briefly, like when it first came out, and then it was just dropped off. So I never really got to hear anybody's impressions. I wasn't really sure what I was getting into when I got this game. It plays very different than the first 2 Darksiders games. It's kind of more of this like isometric top-down view, more Diablo-esque, I'll say. And you play as War and Strife. And War was the main character in the first Darksiders game. This is the first time we ever really get to see Strife. He kind of plays like this assassin-y guy with like guns. He mostly is like a ranged character, and he's a lot different than the other 3 horsemen because he's more like sassy, more jokey. I don't know, I thought he was a breath of fresh air into this series because this series takes itself very seriously, I feel like so it's kind of funny to see him interact with War a lot. I really like that dynamic because War is like the stoic, I must slaughter all the demons and bring justice to the council, and Strife is more like, okay, dude, like, I'm gonna tell him you said that. You know, like, he'll say a lot of jokes and stuff. I don't know. I really like that dynamic between the 2 because it was usually when you play like the first one and the second, War, and in the second one, Death, they're very lone creatures. They're very grumbly. They are only doing this because they have to bring justice to the bad guys, you know? And so it was fun seeing War have someone else that he could, like, confide into and, like, talk about, like, their doubts in the council. I don't know, I just like being able to hear them talk with each other rather than him just being by himself grumbling, all right, I'll go slay the demons, I guess. And so this is actually a prequel to the very first one. It's kind of like the Dawn of the Third Kingdom, the Dawn of Man. For those of you who you know, never really played a Darksiders series, you probably aren't really sure what I'm talking about. But essentially, Darksiders is all about the war between, like, heaven and hell. And the Darksiders are there to, like, bring balance between the 2. They're kind of like the mediators, I guess. And then there's the Third Kingdom humans. And so the first Darksiders happens with the demons breaking the pact and starting to kill the Third Kingdom. Anyway, so the Darksiders Genesis is kind of like how that all came to be. And War and Strife are set out by the council to go see some rumblings. There's some imbalance happening, I guess I'll say. The story's kind of a little more cryptic than I would have liked. Unfortunately, most of this game is taking place in hell, so it's just like very, like, it sounds exciting at first, and I had this problem a lot with the Diablo 3 series as well, but it's all just so, like, you're underground, lots of browns, lots of dark reds. You're just fighting snarling demons the whole time, and then the bosses will talk, but they'll talk like this. "All right, horseman, you'll never defeat me." And it just all gets so samey after a while, and most of the levels are taking place like underground lava-y areas, and it just gets kind of boring after a while. There are just like 1 or 2 levels near the end where you're actually like on the surface, you're not underground in hell anymore, and I'm just like, oh yes, finally, like a mixture of different enemies, but then you just end up going back to slaying demons, and I don't know, it was just kind of, it just got kind of boring to me, pretty samey. And same with the music as well. The music is just like war music, like the home boom boom home, like the drums are playing. But it's just it's fine for a couple levels, but not the whole game. I just like to see maybe a little bit of color, maybe a little different enemy variations, something to like mix it up. I also want to say I think I played this game in the worst way possible. For one, the Switch port of this game is not good at all. When I first booted it up, and this was in handheld mode, and I feel like the camera is just so far away from my character that like he's just a tiny little blip on the screen. And I did try playing this on my projector later, and it was a little bit better, but still, like, I can't really see anything, and it's all just so dark, and it just kind of has this like weird fog filter over all of it. And so I went into my settings and I turned up the brightness just all the way, and I still had a lot of trouble seeing what was going on. Like they have this like weird flickery fog stuff going on in the background. It just, I don't think it was done very well. The loading times, they're just awful. It just, every time you go into a level, it just became habit for me to pull out my phone and just look at the classifieds or something like that. Because the loading times, I want to say, every time you go into a level or even like a different room, it takes at least a minute. It's kind of, I don't know. I'm usually not one to care about this kind of stuff, but this was pretty bad. And there was a lot of times where like the frame rates would drop, especially when Strife has this ability where he can make like a clone of himself to shoot, and then you can also upgrade it so it makes 2 clones. And so when you put down like 8 of these clones with a bunch of enemies, it gets bogged down like pretty bad. And then it was just like hard to see. It was like glitchy, like I'd get stuck in walls a lot. And then like the voice lines would be off, like you'd see subtitles of like war talking, and then like, but you wouldn't hear any of the voice lines, and you're like, oh, I think I was supposed to hear him say that. I don't know, just like a ton of glitches. It wasn't that great, and I gotta wonder if this would have been better on the PlayStation or my PC or something like that. Also, I feel like this game was really tailored towards 2 players. Like, one person is supposed to be War and one person is supposed to be Strife, but as single player, you can have the option to like switch between the 2. I feel like this game would have been a lot more fun, as most games probably are, with 2 players. I kind of wonder if I should have invited little brother Austin to come and play this one with me. If you do have a friend or a buddy to come over just for a couple nights to play this game with you, I think you'll have a much better time. But yeah, I guess like all the cards were stacked up against me with this game. Yeah, I really would like a main series game with Strife. I gotta wonder if they do end up making a Darksiders 4, what that would look like if we were able to maybe play as Strife. I think it'd be cool. I never really was a fan of like the levels in the original Darksiders where you carry around like a big gun, but I gotta wonder if they made it some sort of like FPS. I think that might be like an interesting twist to the Darksiders franchise. And then it's just nice to hear like, granted, it takes you away from the severity of the situation when you got like this quippy guy making snarky remarks, and it was a neat twist to like the main horseman. So there is like some sort of like upgrade system to this game, but it's not in like a traditional way that you think. I'm still not really sure if I like it. I was kind of thinking, looking at the commercials for this game, that it would be more like Diablo, where like there's gear drops that like upgrade your weapons or like upgrade your armor, just that like traditional kind of gear drops, but there's no gear drops. Instead, it's kind of a complex system, so I'm going to do my best to explain it. Each creature drops something called a creature core. Like, they have a chance of dropping a creature core, which does something. And so, like, let's say you get there's basic minions called armored fleas, and every time you kill them, they have a chance to drop an armored flea creature core. And you can put in a creature core into like a slotted, like a slot, like a tree slot, an upgrade tree slot in your to upgrade your guys. I'm not sure how this is in multiplayer, if you each have your own, or if you both will share the creature core slot skill tree. So there's like 3 different types. You have attack, wrath, and health creature core slots. And so you put your creature core slot in that, and then as you garner more of those creature cores, it upgrades to give you better bonus stats and kind of stuff like that. And then you also have major creature cores, which like bosses will drop those, and they do like things that are a little more significant to your abilities. But it just, that whole system, I'm not really sure if I like that, because it just feels so grindy. Like, it makes you feel like you have to go through and just kill all of the same creatures over and over again. And then there are souls similar to the first Darksiders 1 and 2. I can't attest to 3, so I'm sorry. But you get these souls, and then you can upgrade like different combos, and like you can buy like health upgrades and wrath upgrades, stuff like that, but not really. Like, I think you can also buy 1 new ability for Strife and War. And at playing single player, I was a little worried, because like I did want to switch between the two, between Strife and War, and you can do it just like on the fly pretty quick. And they actually did a good job with that, because I unlocked an ability pretty early where, hey, the character that's not in use at the moment will just slowly heal. So I'll be playing as Strife. I want to say I played majority of the game as Strife, because like he's a new character and he's ranged, so it was a little easier. You didn't have to worry about getting like your combos interrupted or anything like that. And he could cycle between 2 different weapons, like 2 different guns, and you slowly unlock like 6 different guns. I ended up really liking the lightning gun that would like, it's like this lightning beam that chains to other enemies, and then like this straight beam that shoots. And I ended up using both of those. And then he also has like an ammo system, so if you do overuse the guns, you do slowly start running out of ammo with them. He does have like a melee attack, but it's not nearly as good as War. So if you're going to use melee, you might as well switch over to War. When I did get low with Strife, I would switch over to War, and he actually, I think they did a good job translating his moveset to this like top-down view from Darksiders 1. And he just has like a lot of, what he does instead of like this ammo system is he can change enhancements to a sword. So like one will be like this earth-shattering thing, will send like this like earthquake line ahead of you, or he has like this tornado spin that he does around him. And so eventually you unlock a combo, so where you do your basic light attack and then you do your strong attack afterwards, it like automatically triggers the enhancement that you have to his sword. So he actually does have kind of an interesting system. He can block as well, then he has like a counter attack. So don't feel like Strife is like the only one worth playing. If you're playing with a friend, don't be afraid to try out War. He actually has a lot of interesting combat mechanics as well. So yeah, you can just switch between the two. If a meter fills up and then you switch to your other character, he does like this cool like little intro attack that does a lot of damage. So it was just kind of nice playing as both of them. It did take a while control-wise to get used to playing as each of them. Like, it was kind of like you have to learn 2 different characters at once and then be able to switch to their like combat scheme on the fly, because they are both actually playing pretty differently. But eventually you get used to it, and so it's kind of cool, like pulling off cool combos, and then like you use up all your wrath and abilities with one character, then you can switch over to the next one. I don't know, it's just kind of like, it was a fun system playing single player, but I think I would have much rather just played as one character and had like a friend or brother play as the other guy. I kind of have a problem with this, is it's a prequel to the first one. but you still come across characters that wore meats in Darksiders 1. Like, you come across the shopkeep, Volgrim, and, in this game, obviously, War doesn't really act like he knows who he is, but if you already met Volgrim, if you already met the demon Samael, and then in you're like introduced to them in Darksiders 1, I was kind of wondering if they maybe, I don't know, like give him amnesia or something like that at at the end of this game, but no, he just still retains all his memory, but yet you don't even act like you know these characters in Darksiders 1. I don't know, it just kind of felt kind of weird. It feels like an oversight to me. One thing to shoot for during this playthrough is you can collect different collectibles like trickster keys to open up trickster doors, and behind those doors are like things with a lot of upgrades and like a lot of these fisherman coins. Fisherman coins are like a currency that you need to also buy these upgrades from like Volgrim. And then you can also get like different wrath powers and stuff like that, different abilities. Each character, both of the characters have 3 unique abilities to them, and so you have to unfortunately uncover those. For some reason I miss one of Strife's abilities. Actually, I know he has caltraps, and then he has the ability where it's like a shadow clone, but like I said, I didn't really 100% complete this game, so I missed one of the abilities, unfortunately. And this is like a chapter-based kind of game, so I guess I could go back to the chapters. Unfortunately, you also do unlock like weapons, which isn't unfortunate in itself, but some of the earlier chapters require you to unlock like the weapons from future chapters. So if you are going for a 100% completionist run, you are going to have to replay some of the chapters when you unlock different like abilities. And so I did kind of go back to one of the like a couple of the earlier chapters just to upgrade my guys. I really didn't need to, but it was just kind of something to do while I watched TV. They do also have like this achievement-based system to also garner more souls and creature cores and things like that. It's just like little tasks like, hey, kill 6 of the snakes in this water at this chapter, or hey, defeat this boss without getting struck by lightning, and just little challenges like that, which I think are always kind of nice. It kind of gives you incentive to like mix up the game, kind of like give you a little bit more challenge-based objectives, but they are also optional, so you don't have to do them, but it might be worth going for them if you're like running low on souls or fisherman coins. The first 2 Darksiders games, there are some pretty unique puzzles, like portal puzzles and things like that, and this game does have portals, but I feel like most of the puzzles were like time-based, like see how fast you can do this before it resets kind of thing. Maybe they'd be more interesting with 2 people, but I don't know, the puzzles never really made me feel clever. Like, I never really had like a aha moment. It was more like a speed run kind of thing. I don't know, I feel like they wanted to do puzzles in this game but didn't really go all the way with it. The cutscenes between the chapters, sometimes like you'd encounter a major boss and what would normally be a cutscene in the original, it was more just like, the pictures kind of thing with the words at the bottom and them speaking. But I think I really would have appreciated some more cutscenes. Granted, like, I do understand that this is more of a budget title. I understand it's like not a full price $60 game. I did enjoy they give you like one cutscene at the very beginning of the game, but I was kind of hoping for at least one other cutscene, maybe like at the end when I beat the final boss or something like that. But I don't know if the moving picture kind of thing really does it for me. The game length itself just felt maybe a little too long, and this is probably because it all just felt so samey to me, just with like the brimstone kind of stuff and the music, like the generic music and the generic enemies that you just come across over and over again. It just started maybe overstaying its welcome when I was just getting pretty tired of it. It had maybe like 3 or 4 more chapters. There's 16 chapters in all, and then like a secret bonus boss as well. And around chapter 10, I was kind of ready to just wrap this thing up, but I trudged through, played the rest of it, but it did did overstay its welcome a bit. And then the pacing was kind of weird as well with these chapters. Like, some of the chapters would be this huge, like, open world kind of thing, like go explore every nook and cranny, get all the collectibles. Other chapters were just super linear, like go down these hallways and then maybe there's secret rooms to the side kind of thing, but it was pretty linear. And then other chapters were just like one boss, like you just hop in, no collectibles, just fight this boss. And so the pacing of these chapters was kind of weird, because it'd be like open world, boss, linear, boss, linear. You know, like that kind of pacing was kind of weird. Instead, I think it would have fit a little bit better to be maybe like open world, then linear, then a boss. Open world, linear, boss. But you know, you're never really sure what kind of chapter you're getting into. You're not sure if you're making like this half-hour commitment or if this is just gonna take like 5 minutes. Overall, I gotta say, maybe it's because I'm a pretty big fan of the original Darksiders series, and I am trying to keep in mind that this is more of a budget title, kind of more of a spin-off, if you will. And you know, it might even be because I played the Switch port of this game, but there was a lot going against this, and it never, like, near the end, it kind of had me intrigued with the combat system. Once I finally had everything unlocked, the combat did get a little more interesting, but it just didn't really do it for me necessarily. Like, there's some good things going for this, but it just kind of feels like a lazy game almost. Like they cut a lot of corners, and it could have been a lot better in my opinion. And if I will say, if I play this with another person, I might have enjoyed it a lot more. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee that if you play this with another person, you're gonna have a lot better of a time. But me personally, I think I'm going to give this a score of 2 out of 5. I think it was a fine game, but not one that you should be like ready to go out to the store and buy or anything like that. Like, wait for a sale. I got this for $10 actually, which I think is a pretty good price for this game. But yeah, if you're interested in it, let me know if you have any questions or anything like that. But definitely play it with a buddy, and definitely don't play it on the Switch, because I think there's much better ways of playing this game. Also, let me know if you have played this game. Did you really like it? Are you a fan of the Darksiders series? Let me know your thoughts. I just like to hear from you guys. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye!